couple of housekeeping things I love to mention at the beginning of all of our sessions. We got a couple of online resources that we try and expand on all the time. First one's our help site, which is help.loc8.com. And that really is a sort of a never-ending list of articles around how to do things and how to complete actions. And there is an actual fact an article that will be going in for this very training session at the middle of next week as well. As I mentioned, we've got a Vimeo page. So Vimeo, Vimeo, vimeo.com/Loc8 COM. So LOC8 COM. You'll notice that there's a whole bunch of videos that are already there, total of, I think, 26 that we've got there. Of late, what they have been is videos around a masterclass series that we ran, or I ran a few months ago. I'm going to be adding to that specifically around a planned maintenance session, which I'll be running next Friday, actually. So there'll be an email coming out about that on Monday to talk about that time frame, and that'll be specifically focused around the scheduled maintenance component of the software. So those are sort of, I suppose, the key housekeeping things I like to mention. Most of you, I'm sure, if you've spoken to me, have heard about our email address of service@loc8.com. Obviously, please don't hesitate to reach out. Training's free. We don't charge for it. And we love to speak to customers. And some of you who I can see here in my little group here, some of you probably have to speak to me maybe more than you'd like to. But I am grateful for for the time, and I'm grateful for the insights that you provide. So thank you for bearing with me and my tendency to be, as I think one of my colleagues said, rather verbose. Hopefully it's not. Hopefully, I am able to provide some level of insight in the entire process. So, without further ado, what's tonight's session, or this morning's session, depending upon where you are in the world? Today is about our new document template manager, and basically what it is it's really a response to customer feedback. That joke I made about being verbose. Well, one of the things that I try and do is try and get a level of insight from customers about what you're looking for, and this is 100% a classic example of that process. This is really very much about customer feedback and how we are trying to respond to that as much as we can. So, in that vein, I am logged into one of the systems that I use for my training and presentations and demonstrations. And you'll notice with this system that we've now got a brand new document templates option here on the left-hand side. Now, that will not be visible in your Loc8 system right now. This is going to become available when we update the software in about the middle of next week. So that'll be where the button is. Nice little settings button, document templates, and that'll be basically here on the right-hand side. What I'm going to do with this session is I'm just going to basically sort of give people a bit of a before and after picture to try and create the best level of contrast to sort of highlight what we've done and what we're trying to achieve here. So if I go ahead and I have a look at a job, right now I've got a little share and export button there. If I go ahead and close that right there and I click on that button right there, what we've got is we've basically got sort of a combination of email functionality, complete with the ability to be able to add into that email or view a web page version of the job, hence that copy public link option. We also provide the ability to view a PDF version of that. And basically what that looks like, this should hopefully be no news to any of our existing customers, is pretty much this particular document here. So a beautiful document, actually really, really great document. It adjusts to things like mobile phones and stuff like that. And this has served us really, really well from our customer base perspective. The PDF version, PDFs, God bless them. Nice little stamps in the dark, nice little stakes in the ground, and that looks very PDF-esque. But I think one thing that you'll notice is that there is a marked difference from a design perspective, a layout perspective between these two documents. The other thing I should also mention as well is that the current document has a great little print button there. Of course, you can save this document to PDF if you want to, because most browsers today have a save as PDF option, or you can go ahead and you can send that to a physical printer as well. So that's what we've got right now. I think the thing I would want to highlight and sort of key takeaway from the current situation is these two documents look quite a bit different to each other. And that is something that you'll notice changes with our new engine, our new document template engine. So if I go over and I have a look at the document template engine, as I mentioned, settings, document templates. Basically, there's really sort of two parts to this. Something that if you're used to using just our jobs area with the software, or you're used to using just our assets area, or maybe the invoices area, something you may or may not have noticed if your life exists in really one or two of those areas, is that we have this template model throughout the software. So I'm in the quotes area right now. If I go ahead and I have a look at that particular quote, the quote template that we've got will load up there, and it'll load up quite nicely. But I think the key thing also is that we have this template model throughout the software. It's pervasive throughout the product. And what that means is that the first thing to have a look at when it comes to the document templates option is the fact that we have a whole bunch of what we're referring to as global changes. So this should not be confused with the idea and the concept that there are still individual templates for the assets area and the invoices area and the jobs area, obviously so on and so forth, as you can see here. So there's a bunch of global options or global settings that you can apply to our new template engine. So things like removing the company logo, removing the company name if you wanted to as well, removing things like what we refer to as the company identifier, which is basically in most cases like an ABN number, which is the terminology that we use here in Australia. Or maybe a tax file number in the US, or something like that in the UK. You can remove and add in things like company billing addresses, contact details. But again, I think the key takeaway about this part of the engine is that making those changes, throwing those switches, is going to have an effect across all the templates. So it's going to have an effect across every single template, whether it be the job template, the quote template, the invoice template. What we're doing here is that we're making changes across all those templates. The other thing also that's kind of nice is that we have some additional page sizing options for specific situations where you have larger printers, or some of the margin stuff that is really, really quite handy if you want to sort of maximize the usage of the area or the real estate that you are dealing with. So those are some of the global changes, and it is no more difficult, like most of the changes in our software, about throwing switches and basically just clicking on that save button there on the bottom right hand corner. So the other thing I would also mention from a document template perspective is, how do you go ahead and you actually enable these templates? So let's delve into. I mentioned before the sort of the before situation. In other words, I mentioned the idea and the concept of, here's what the templates look right now. I mentioned the fact that this new feature is going to become available middle of next week when we do the update to the software. So the obvious question is, if it's going to become available, do we have any adjustment period? Is it just going to wake up one morning and hey presto, it's going to be changed? And the simplest answer is no. No, what we're going to do is that we're going to provide customers with the flexibility to be able to go ahead and obviously enable those templates when they want to. Now, I will be honest, and I'll be completely forthright with people in saying that the statement "when they want to" is going to have a bit of a life. We're in the middle of November right now. I would not expect that there will be any sort of forced movement to these new templates this year. And it'll probably be a few months into next year before we start reaching out to customers and saying, hey, just by the way, we've had the new template engine available now for the last bunch of months. We do want to get sunset and move away from that old template engine. We wanted to let you know that your templates will be moved over automatically on a particular date. Don't have a set date around that, but I can say to you that's measured in months and not a couple of days or a couple of weeks. And so what we're really, really encouraging customers to do is to go ahead and enable those engines, those new templates right now. You can do that. That's something you can actually do, and you can actually enable that yourself. Again, settings, document templates. I click on the templates tab here at the very top. And what I want to do is I want to go ahead and I want to choose the area of the software that I want to then enable that template in. So specifically, we're in the jobs area right now. Something else that you'll notice with this new document templates area when you see it, again, hopefully middle of next week, is that beyond the fact that you now have a template area to actually make template changes to the templates too, and that's new, massively new in itself. What we're also going to do is that we're also going to give you the ability to stick with the old, or as we're referring to it, the legacy template. We'll throw in the brand new standard, the brand new one there is the standard template. and we'll give you the ability to be able to go ahead and enable that when you are comfortable in doing so. So to do that, you simply have to click on that view button there on the right-hand side. My little three dots here is available here on the top right-hand corner. I simply click on set as default, click on the save button at the very bottom. And what you'll immediately notice is that default status has now jumped from the legacy option up to the standard option. Let's do that. Let's go ahead and do that in, say, the quotes area if you use quotes. And so if I go ahead and I click on the quotes area, well, actually, in actual fact, I've done that already. So there we go. So there's that legacy template at the bottom. It's the standard template that's now set as the default option. And then if I was to go ahead and I wanted to do that again, say in the invoices area, I could go ahead and I could just simply throw that up there as well. If you find that the adjustment period for your customers is taking a little bit longer than what you would have expected, rolling back, terribly easy. I simply go ahead and click on the view button in the legacy template option. I'll pop in a description just to help me from a sanity perspective. And then I simply click on those three dots there in the top right-hand corner. I set that as default and click on save, and immediately that's jumped back down. So I think the thing I would want to sort of emphasize here is this is not going to immediately happen the minute that the update is applied next week. We are going to give customers the ability to be able to obviously adjust, and we anticipate that some customers might move to the new template for quotes and the new template for jobs, maybe not for invoices, or there's some sort of model there that will probably work for your business. And I think the other thing also, as I said, is that we are obviously going to move to this engine eventually, but I can confidently say to you that that's going to be measured in sort of a few months as opposed to a few days or a few weeks. So we will also let you know. We'll get that email communication out to you to sort of let you know that that's going to happen and that's going to be moving. When that date is finally decided on. So we've gone over and we've had a look at what it is right now. We've touched on where the engine is. We've sort of touched on the idea and the concept of the fact that there are templates on a per location basis. So quotes, jobs, invoices, assets, and that whole idea. And what we have done also, and specifically in our jobs area, is that we went ahead and we actually enabled that as well. So without further ado, if I go ahead and I have a look at one of my jobs here. So please, obviously, I'm sure it goes without saying that, these jobs were the jobs I had before. And again, all that I'm doing is making a change to that template model. I'll simply go ahead, click on my share and export button, right click on the copy public link and throw up a new tab. Let's go ahead and have a look at how that new template looks and feels, and what are the sort of maybe the key changes or the key takeaways from it. I think the first thing that I would really love to sort of highlight and emphasize here is that we've tried as much as possible to make the layout of it a lot more conducive to things like printing. That was a big piece of feedback that we had from customers. We've tried to make the whole layout of it, when I use the word condensed, I don't know if I would use the word condensed, but certainly we've tried to sort of make it from a layout perspective a lot more condensed. Maybe is probably the best. Maybe that's probably the best word that I can use. The other thing that we've also done is that we've moved the print button. So that print button was located up here in the top right hand corner. We've thrown it down at the bottom of the screen here. And if I go ahead and I click on that print button, something that I know a number of customers that I have spoken to over the last couple of years about this will be really, really excited about this feature is something that you'll notice is that when I then go to save this document as a PDF if I wanted to, and there's still a PDF option there, so you can still do that. But this is basically sort of the save to PDF and the print to PDF button at the bottom of the screen right now, effectively do the same thing. Something you'll notice about the layout is just so much more easier from a printing perspective. And this is really, really a big, big response to that feedback thing that I talked about at the very beginning of our session. Let me give you a quick sort of comparison here, because again, I know that this is something that we have had a number of customers mention to us. So here's the old document. If I went ahead and I clicked on the print button there in the top right-hand corner, if I have a look at that stretches over 3 pages. And that was a piece of feedback that we got. Customers did say to us, the document looks fantastic, but when I print it to PDF, it stretches over so much space. And so if there's any way that we could sort of compress that down and make that a little bit more, printer friendly, PDF friendly, that'd be awesome. And that is really, really a great example of that feedback loop that we value so much, and also the information that customers have provided. We've tried to sort of really, really respond to, and really, really hopefully take on board and really transfer through into the product itself. If I jump back into the jobs area to my job there, again, I've still got that PDF option. You'll notice that the standard template now, the default template is the standard one. Kind of nice thing here is that you do have a drop-down menu option, so you can jump back to that legacy template option if you want to. But the really awesome bit here is that if I go ahead and I click on that export to PDF button at the bottom of the screen, and I have a look at that particular PDF, well, you'll notice that in actual fact, the layout is the same as the print to PDF option that I had there. So I could take this web page, I could send it to a customer, and if they wanted to, they could simply click on the print button there, and that would produce a PDF version. It would look exactly the same as the PDF version that you can say to them, that you can send to them. I'm sorry. And this highlights another point that I sort of I mentioned at the beginning here, and that is we noticed that there was a gap. There was a difference between the web page version, if you want to call it that, or the way I like to refer to it as. And let me see, I've got far too many tabs here. Here's the old document. Here's the PDF version. And what we've tried to do is that we've tried to bring all of that very much in line, so that there is a consistent theme now throughout the software when it comes to these templates. The other thing I would also mention as well is that we have a little bit of a color scheme. You'd be surprised the amount of people that come to us and say, hey, John, we'd love some color. So, hey, we are here to answer that question, and we are here to provide. So color it is. Color I have for you. And so you can choose some colors. Again, it's just a click on save button there on the bottom right-hand corner, and you can go ahead and you can update that appropriately. And I think, now I've not tried this, so one definition of insanity is to try new features and do it on live training sessions. So, there we go. Beautiful, fantastic. So the nice thing here is that those color options basically flow through to things like highlighting the email address, nice little sort of little bar there in the middle of the document to highlight, I suppose, if you will, a sort of a break point in the document itself. Great little highlight across the bottom there to go ahead and apply that, highlight that print button as well. So I think what I wanted to do at this point was I wanted to go over a little bit of configuration. I wanted to deep dive a little bit into some of the config options that we have. So what I might do is, if you can bear with me for 1 second here, we'll close up a few of these extra tabs because I am guilty of having far too many sometimes. And what we'll do here is we'll have a look now at some job templates, and we'll also have a look at some quote templates. So if I go ahead and I'm in my quotes area here, and I'm sort of randomly running through this list of quotes here. If I randomly choose one here, we'll throw that open on another tab there, and I'll pop that open, and that'll load up there. What I might do is I might leave my let's leave my job template right there. What I will also then do is I'll then go ahead and I'll jump into my configuration option. So don't forget, settings button left-hand side, document templates in the list. We're still looking at the global style. So if we wanted to make changes to the job template, the quote template, what we would need to do is we would need to click on that templates tab, and then we'd need to go ahead and choose the appropriate area from the list. So I'll start with a nice easy one. We'll go to the quote one here. And this hopefully will highlight some of the granularity that's now available in this process. So if I go ahead and I have a look at the list here, now there are a whole bunch of options here, and I am not going to go through obviously every single one of them, but I'll highlight some ones that I know some of you out there have specifically mentioned and talked to us over the last couple of years. So one of those ones is we've made a bit of a change with quotes to how quotes are approved. So we had feedback from customers about the fact that approving a quote was really easy, and that was fantastic. But it was arguably a little, one would say maybe a little too easy. from the approval process. So what we've done is that I wouldn't say that we've made it harder, because that's not, that defeats the purpose of the entire process. But what I would say is that we've put a couple of extra hurdles in the process, primarily to basically help you to sort of go back to your end customer and really sort of say, hey, there was some buttons there, and we know you've clicked on them, because critically we know we've enabled them. So this is how the new quote template is going to look. If I was to go ahead and I was to now go ahead and create a brand new quote template, I'd simply go ahead and click on the create button there on the top right hand corner. I go through, and let's just choose like say the electrical option. So I'll say that this is a test electrical quote. Of course, as I'm sure most of you know, I only need to throw in a minimum of a subject and a customer to be able to do that process. And this will be a pretty barren quote, if I'm being completely honest with you. But obviously, the point here is to sort of try to highlight that new feature. And if I go ahead and I open that up there on the screen, and I load that up, what that should do at the very bottom, when I tell a lie, I did make one mistake here, is I set that to, I'll click on my send quote there option, and I will not email it to myself. I'll click on done, and we'll go ahead and we'll refresh that quote. And that should hopefully throw that approval button at the bottom there. And see, this is the reason why you always want to be careful about new brand new features. You'll have to take it on faith from me that there is an approval button here at the very, very bottom. And what that will do is that will basically pop up a box in the center of the screen to ask you for your name and your details there. So that one I will ask you to have faith with me on, but I can say to you from me to you that I have seen that with the approval process. And it specifically answers and covers off a couple of situations where we've had some customers who come to us and basically said, we had a customer who approved the quote and effectively said, I didn't approve it. And we've noticed it was almost too easy to do that approval process. So we've tried to directly, respond to that particular situation. A couple of things I'd mention here is that you can now remove things like tax components. You can, show line items or show line item unit charges, or in actual fact, remove them from the document as well. I don't have much here in the way of substance, but I think you'll sort of get the gist here about what it's, adding and subtracting when it comes to the actual template itself. And then a couple of other bits and pieces around things like, maybe the location is not relevant. Maybe sort of compressing it down is relevant from a quoting perspective. And again, it's nothing more difficult than the on-off switch option that you've got there, and the save button on the bottom right-hand corner. So that's the quote template. Let's go over and jump into now the job template. And I'm conscious of time here and conscious of the fact that for some of you, it might be fairly late. For some of you, obviously, the day's only beginning, but I do want to cover off any questions that pop in as well. So if I touch on the job side of things and I click on the view button now for my new template, you'll notice that I set that as default. What I'm able to now do is I'm able to now go ahead and I'm able to make a whole raft of changes. I mean, you'll notice there's a whole bunch of different toggle switches that we have here. Things like showing financial information, showing things like subtask line items, potentially removing tax. There's a whole stack of options that we can have there. And again, it's no more difficult. It's no more difficult than throwing the switch and clicking on the save button. We've had customers who said priorities and things like start by times and due on site times. Well, those are not terribly relevant to our world, and it'd be really, really awesome if we could sort of just remove them from the overall process. And again, if I go ahead and refresh that document, those changes should actually flow through, and there were a couple of there that actually were taken out. So that's basically the way that we configure them. I suppose the last thing I would mention here before I have a look at my questions is that we are, and here is, I suppose, one of those under the hood changes that has been made as a result of this, is that we've completely redesigned how we do templates. And so what that means is that simply means that there is a code, because we are a piece of software. There's a code for every single one of these fields. God bless my cotton socks, my approval quote there. I have to make quick reference to the fact that my approval quote button finally appeared. Thank God. Thank God. Thank the good Lord. So that is the sign off process. Anthony, I know you're watching. I know you're listening to me. Thank you very much for joining. This is one of those things that we did hear you about. So Anthony, you know who you are, and this was something that we really did take into effect. Anyway, I'm digressing. I am digressing. One of the things that we have done is that we obviously have completely redesigned the engine side of things. And that means that every single thing on this screen has a code in some way, shape, or form in the background. So simply put, what that means is that when, I don't think if, when, our customers come to us and basically say, hey, I love that template and those toggle switches are fantastic, but there's a couple little quirky things that I would love to get changed, or, I'd really like to go ahead and get the John Jensen template done, because we've got some customers who really have some specific requirements. What you can do is that you can click on this little custom document template button and basically get in touch with us. And we have the ability now to produce documents at a nominal cost for customers that are customized to your situation. And I know a couple of customers who this is going to be hugely beneficial to, because there are some customers who have reached out to us in the past and have asked questions around this sort of stuff, and specifically wanted some more unusual pieces of information, things like, a serial number information, or maybe an asset ID, or, maybe there was, and I'm, I could see a couple of you online who I immediately know will resonate with this idea and this concept, with regards to that process. So look, don't be shy. Get in touch with us. We've always wanted to hear from you. We continue to want to hear from you when it comes to feedback, and just letting us know, how the product is working. And here's a great avenue to do that. And that is to have a look at the brand new document template engine, and basically see if the toggle switches work. Fantastic. It's free. There's no additional cost. It's completely available to you. You can make those changes today. Or if there's some customization that we could do for you, please reach out. Please just get in touch with us. And we'd be happy to help you out there, as well. So that is really my spiel. I wanted to try and sort of stick to about a half an hour. As I said at the beginning, some of you are kind and generous enough to speak to me on phone calls, and none of you have ever accused me of being verbose, despite the fact that I'm sure I am. And you graciously, put up with some of my more rantings and then get to the questions at hand. So thank you so much. I'll have a look here and see if we've got any questions at this point. I might find that I may have actually achieved my outcomes, which would be fantastic. I sort of try and run on the idea and the concept that no questions is maybe a good thing, hopefully, possibly. So if we can help, please don't hesitate to reach out. Thank you so much for spending your evening, depending upon where you are in the world, or the morning. I obviously can tell that some of you are based in the UK because of a number of our customers who are based there, and really do spend the time to be engaged in the product. So thanks so much, everybody. I don't think I've got anything there. So that's no. Fingers crossed. I may have actually kicked some goals here, which is fantastic. So if you've got any questions, as I mentioned at the beginning of our session, don't hesitate to reach out. help.loc8.com is our website online, and our Vimeo page, as well. And obviously service at loc8.com. If we can help in any way, shape, or form. And I suppose one thing it would be remiss of me to not mention, and really a reminder, and that is that we obviously have a chat option. We've had it there for quite a while, and I'm sure most of you are aware of it, where that is. But it's just simply a little icon here on the help button that pops up that window, and you can go ahead and have a chat with us, and send us a message and reach out and get in touch. So thank you so much for joining. What I will do at this point is I will stop this particular recording. And as I said, we will get that recording up to our Vimeo page at the beginning of next week. And don't forget, the update is planned for the middle of next week. Thank you so much, everybody. Thanks heaps for your time, and I'll look forward to speaking to you all very, very soon.